welcome to the Inspired Riding Podcast. I'm your host, Beth Lauren Parrish. As a certified riding instructor, remote coach, and animal communicator, I bridge the gap between your inner and outer worlds as you strive to enhance all aspects of your riding. I'm here to remind you that you are powerful and more than capable of changing your reality with your horse time.
Welcome everyone to the Inspired Riding interview series. I'm so excited to bring to you a very talented woman with a big heart that I've known for quite a while, and we met back in Texas. Her name is Rachel Steen with the Balance Point Equestrian Center, and she has now moved to North Carolina, and this is the beautiful background of her horses over there now. So welcome, Rachel. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks. I'm so excited to get to, do this with you. It's been so long since we've talked, and nice to catch up. You are the trend setter. You moved north from Texas first. So, I had to just move just a little bit further north.
I'm glad that you're settled in now, and I'm so glad we're doing this today. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you do with your horses now?
Well, just a little preface about, where I've come from, and that is, for the last 18 years, I did a holistic equine rehab, and I worked a lot with rescue horses, and I'd have, do training, but, typically would have about 40 horses at a time. And with most of them being rescues, I really had a chance to try different things to help their problems. And so I had a chance, for the last 18 years to really do my own case studies about what products worked and how do I help them and what training techniques work. And so, when you were talking about rescue horses, I was like, yeah, let's talk about some of the things that I've had experience with. Now I've downsized. So I went from a 40-acre ranch with, about typically over 35 horses at a time. And now I've moved, and I've just got 22 acres, forest, most of it's forest, and I've only got 8 horses now. So I'm really excited to get to spend time with my own.
That's still quite a lot.
Well, moved with 10, and then I took 2 of them up to New Jersey to a student who moved up to New Jersey.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So she wins for the Moving North from Texas award. So her 2 horses stayed with me for a little while, and then I brought them up to New Jersey. Very interesting driving horses to New Jersey. I have to say that it was just very interesting being on the New Jersey Turnpike. But yeah, anyway, here I bought this place so that I can really have people come and spend a weekend or a week and do some intensive lessons and just really set their own daily life aside so that they can work on being better trainers and horse people and instructors as well. So I have an upcoming clinic in April that's really going to be focused on instructors who want to delve deeper into positive reinforcement, because that's what I found that has helped the most in retraining rescue horses is setting a course of as close to pure positive reinforcement as possible, as humanly possible, which is really saying that we try to take all the pressure and aversives away. So here is just a place for people to come and spend time with horses and spend time with nature and get a feel for what horses really enjoy and how we can work with them without pressure. So I'm excited to have people to start coming out and working with me here.
Wonderful. And then just to clarify, they come without horses and work with yours. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay. Good to know. Yeah.
Because it is a lot easier to work on yourself when you're not worried about what's happening to your horse. Like a lot of times we go to clinics and our horses are tied up or they're in a stall and we're worried about who are they next to and are they okay? And our mind, half of our mind is always with them. So having the horses here, we have horses of all different ages and breeds and training. We have a bunch of horses that were rescue horses and a couple that were born on the property in Texas, and just, a wide array. And then of course, some Andalusians. People always like playing with Andalusians. So
I had my little moment with them as well. So
yes, you
totally
didn't
get that.
take yours in the pond though. There's something else about watching them wallow. The beautiful
Oh,
used to be white.
I do wish they could have gone in a pond. That was one of the reasons I left. They wouldn't let them be horses. So yeah.
Yes, well, that is also one reason why I don't fuss about them being clean, because if they're happy, that's all that matters.
Little dirt doesn't hurt.
Yeah. I was telling you about I've taken a lot of the things that I've learned from all those years, and I'm doing I do horsekeeping classes online, and now I'm offering one that is focused on working with stressed or horses that have had past traumas, and working, trying to get them comfortable and getting their metabolism working. The stress, as anyone who's been stressed knows, that when you're under a lot of stress for a long period of time, everything in your body kind of goes into survival mode. And so one of the ways to get them healthier is to convince their body they're no longer in danger.
That's huge. I just got chills thinking about that class. So I'm really happy you're going to be doing that.
Thanks.
You're
It's
welcome.
fun. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to ask a really fun question. If you were handed $10 million right now, what would be the first thing you'd do?
Well, I would definitely try to finish a few things around here, because when you start a new place, you figure out, oh, your budget isn't quite where it should be. But one of the things that I would do with that is I would start a nonprofit working with children and horses and other animals, and teaching children using positive reinforcement, or to use positive reinforcement, using animals as a guide. I did some classes. I did after school classes with kids back in Texas, and it was so much fun working with the kids and seeing how they would take these concepts of cooperative work, and also the concept that we look for what's going right instead of what's going wrong. Mm-hmm. And you would have children that, maybe had some perfectionist parents, and so they're always beating themselves up. The children were always, telling themselves they weren't good enough, or they're too afraid to try things. And, after a few months of working, learning positive reinforcement, you would start to hear them tell themselves, okay, this is okay. I made a mistake, but I did this right. And they would start talking to themselves in a much kinder way. And for me, knowing that I help certain kids have some more confidence, and that they learn to basically trust themselves a little bit more, it made all the difference. And I really would love to see that program become a nationwide program. Like I do, one of the first things I did here was I started a group on Saturday mornings. It's actually free to the community teenage girls. So any girl over 11 can come out, and we do some little chores together for like half an hour, and then we work with the horses, and they do some games with themselves, with each other. And I think trying to kind of mold their thinking into more creative problem solving, and showing them the power of taking what what is offered and moving from there, instead of getting frustrated that what's offered is not exactly what you want. So that's what I would do.
More chills. This is awesome. We'll have lots to talk about later, because I have similar ideas for when I have my facility. So perhaps I can add that onto the programs. So
That would be great. Yeah.
I love it. I'm going to get into the questions from my group, and then we'll come back to some of the ones I had because I want to offer them their questions first, if you don't mind. So my friend Carrie, who's in the Inspired Riding Connection monthly group, she wanted to know about positive reinforcement and addressing the fine line of PTSD rescues between living with a behavior versus overcoming behavior. Did that make sense? Sorry, that came out a little funny.
Did she give a specific example there?
Yes, there was a scenario. So she has Tony the pony. He won't stand tied to anything. He'll pull back, break whatever he can, flip himself over, etc. If you correct in any way, he escalates. If you ignore it, he stops. However, I'm not there all the time, and if he needs to be treated by someone other than me, it could get dicey. He will ground tie, but you have to be watching him because he'll pick up his own rope, carry it to where he wants to be, and drop it. He's clever.
So that last part, when I read that, I just was like, oh my goodness, this is hilarious, because this is it's very clear how smart Tony the pony is.
Yes.
And that he is renegotiating where he wants to be. And I love that he is showing his preferences there. Now, as far as tying, so a lot of the horses that I would work with, they had past injuries. And one of the injuries that's most common in all horses are injuries to the poll, right behind the ears where the halter goes, or the bridle. Horses, they pull back and they damage the vertebra there and the muscle tissue. And so that's one of the most common injuries. And what you find is that once there's an injury there, then they're also more likely to pull back again because they're so sensitive, and it's it almost triggers a reflex action, that pain there. Over the years, I've come to think of it as there's probably like a reflex from eons ago when horses had to care about, mountain lions jumping on them, and their reflex action to pain in their withers and their poll is to throw themselves over backwards. So I've seen this many times, but the short end of it is that when there is pain there, when there's been an injury, they're more likely to do it again. So to get them through being able to tie, we work on stationing, which is very close to ground tying, but say that we will reinforce for them to be on a mat, and wherever the mat goes, then they'll get something good for being on that mat. And sometimes we'll use platforms. It's funny how often they will choose to stand on a platform just to see if they can get our attention and get some goodies. But yeah, so teaching to station, you can also use a target, which target can be anything, but we often use like little fluffy micro dusters because they're soft and they have little telescoping arms, and we can, you can just put your target anywhere. Say if you taught your horse to go to a target, you could put the target in the trailer and have them follow to the trailer to go, okay, the target is where you want me to be. So there's different ways that you can teach the standing and staying in one place behavior. It requires some practice because we have to have enough experience with the behavior and enough reinforcement history, enough good things happening over and over again for them to naturally want to be there. The great thing about a mat is because you can move the mat anywhere. So wherever you want them, you just throw the mat down and then, reinforce them for being on the mat and they'll stay. So it doesn't matter who's there. The other thing is that you can also, like if you're having trouble with the horse standing while the farrier's working, give them some alfalfa to eat on. As you start practicing giving them things that they like, when they are standing still for things that they maybe don't like, they're going to be more cooperative. And the other part of that is always looking for an alternative behavior to the one that you want that's incompatible. So in other words, if you don't want your horse walking off, practicing a lot of standing, but them voluntarily standing will help. The other thing that people don't realize is that giving a horse a choice to walk off and come back, to walk off and come back, that will actually help the horse just stand still. It's whenever horses are forced to do something that they're going to want to do the other. So the more often, like say that you have a horse that spooks a lot. We used to, again, working with rescues, have horses spook a lot. We would work teaching them to walk with us at liberty. And we'd walk, our yard, we keep our yard fairly safe, but it's, it was like a 5-acre yard. So they could run off, they could go check something else, but they would come back. I mean, we wouldn't go and do this challenge until we did a lot of basics. But the point is that when you get to a point where you let them go, check whatever they're scared of out, come back to you, they will come back to you. And with the standing still, if you give them a chance in practice to go off, and if they feel uncomfortable and then come back when they feel comfortable, then you'll get longer standing behaviors.
That's brilliant. Yeah, I'm all about giving them choices. I've been experimenting with that a lot more with Pepper, and I can feel the difference. It's amazing. So yeah, thank you for all that information. That's awesome. And I love the idea of the magic carpet. I've heard that before as well.
And if anybody wants to learn more about positive reinforcement, I do online classes. I also have weekly group classes where people, after they learn certain basics, then they do videos, and we share the videos together, because one of the things that we're really big on is trying to help people feel like they have a community support system.
Yes.
And we often, if we've been in the horse community for very long, we've all felt other people kind of say, no, do this, no, do that. And the idea that other people with horses can be supportive is very difficult. It takes practice for us to know that we're safe to show our warts and everything. And I love your group for the fact that you're just about positivity and everyone helping everyone else. So
thank you so much. And I really appreciate that. And it is such an important thing to feel that support and that kindness, and to be able to be authentic and share what they need. I still remember that shift in me. I went and did my certification program. It was a week long for Certified Horsemen's Association. It was back in California, and there were 10 of us total becoming certified. And I was really skeptical. I thought it was going to be this cat fight the whole time, but everyone was so positive and kind and supportive. I was like, my eyes were wide, like, wow, people can be like this in the horse world. I want more of this. So that's, I think, what kind of put that light bulb moment into me, like, okay, let's just focus on that now instead. So I appreciate you saying that about my group. I'm really, really proud of it. All the members are just incredible. I'm glad you're in here.
Yeah, I really, it takes a lot of work to keep a group online positive. So kudos to you for all of your direction.
Thank you. And I have to shout out to my moderators. They help catch things that might not be that great. And, for the past few months or so, we haven't had anything that we had to delete. So that was wonderful. Everyone's just kind of getting the vibe, and it's very fun. So thank you again for that. Now I'm going to move on to Kelly's question. She would love to know the differences you've become aware of in training of rescue horses. What are common challenges have you had to overcome with rescues?
So one of the things that we might not consider right off the bat with rescues is how important routines are for them to understand that there is safety, and that safety is in knowing what's going to happen next, and that comes from being very careful to keep their their environment a bit on the, predictable side. So in other words, being careful about how you change their living space, how you change their partners, how where you take them, giving them a way to have stability even when they're in a new place. One of the things that we work on with positive reinforcement is to have good associations with things such as, like we've talked about our targets, so that when you're going, say, if you have to go to the vet, that you're able to help them know what's happening next by, again, using behaviors that have been positively reinforced. And by doing those behaviors, they kind of calm down. So, in a way, it's like trying to teach the horses to meditate, like it's going to be okay. Just clear your mind. Let's touch the target a few times. See, nothing bad happened. Just be in this moment. Don't think about everything that's, happened in the past. So that's very important. The other thing that I would say that's most helpful in working with rescue horses is realize that almost all of them have ulcers. Horses that have had trauma, they get stressed out. They have a higher acid production in their gut. They've got maybe some pain issues. A lot of rescue horses have some unaddressed pain, which is how they ended up being thrown away in the first place. And so by being able to support their stomach, help them reduce the acid production in the gut, then you're able to give them sort of a clear playing field. I always tell people, think about when you're sick and how the slightest little thing annoys you, and you're more likely to go off for no reason if you don't feel good. Even if you've had like a toothache that won't go away or a headache that won't go away, you don't want to deal with anyone. And so when their stomachs just don't feel right, you may not see any signs of it other than them being just really grumpy or aggressive. They might be eating quickly. It's one thing that we find a lot of horses that have ulcers, they have a tendency to eat super fast because they're just trying to get food in, get their stomach as quickly as possible. They're more likely to choke. So there's things that you can do as far as feeding wet alfalfa cubes and letting them eat over a long period of time. Also treating with ulcer guard or gastrogard or omeprazole. There's many things that you can do, but just giving your horse a chance to get a little relief from pain, that can help tremendously. Also keep in mind that when we give horses pain meds such as Banamine or Bute for pain issues, that also can upset the gut. So we need to give them gastric support there as well. So if you have a horse that maybe is colicky and you give them Banamine, you also want to give them some omeprazole to help buffer that, because otherwise then you're going to have continued problems.
That's great to know. And we were just discussing that last night with Penny. If you have time to watch that, we were talking about a lot of alternatives, and she creates digestive bars. It's pretty amazing.
That's great. Yes. Well, I've used many holistic remedies over the years, and I would definitely recommend that for prevention. But when you are in an acute state, then you definitely need the medication.
The big guns. Yeah.
Yeah. I tell, it's like I have chronic asthma, and I try my best to do everything holistically to stay healthy and stay well. But if something happens and I'm in a severe attack, I'm going to take the meds to make sure that I keep living.
Yes, we want that. Stay with us, please. Yes. Oh my goodness. Do you want to talk about a heart horse of yours and what made them special?
Well, I've been blessed to have several heart horses. That's one of the things about, I guess getting older is you get to see how, you get to see beginnings and endings. And I've been blessed to have horses, grow up with me, and I've been privileged to be there when I had to say goodbye. It's heartbreaking, but it is worth all of the pain. My first heart horse was my horse Major Sport Twist, who from the time I was 10 to I can't remember, but we were together for 31 years. So that makes me, I was 41 then when he passed. Yeah. And so for 31 years we were together, and he went to college with me up in Oregon, and he came to Texas, and he helped so many of the horses that I had in for training. And there is something very special about having a older horse who can just tell the newer horses, hey, everything's okay. This is a great place. You're going to be fine. And the sport was able to just kind of radiate this calm assurance to humans and horses alike. And I learned so much from him. And he was actually the first horse that I started with positive reinforcement. As a young child, I tamed feral cats.
Wow.
And so in that process, when I was very young, I lived on a 164-acre ranch and in Northwest Texas. And so, obviously didn't have lots of little kids to play with, but I had all sorts of animals that I would train and work with. And so taming feral cats actually taught me the most about working force-free, because obviously if you make a mistake, they're either going to run away or they're going to swat you. And I learned a lot about patience and a lot about observing behavior, and a lot about using food to help them feel calmer around me. And I used that when I started working with sport, when he would actually start out as my sister's horse, because my sister's horse had him as a baby. Okay. And then her horse died, and sport was a reminder of pain. And so I always loved sport. So I've always intended on getting him, but he was then mine, and I started training him. And I would teach him to stay, like in Hawaii, we weren't allowed to tie horses to the porch railing, and we didn't have any fences around the place. So he had a fence for his pen, but like the yard wasn't fenced. So I taught him to stay and stand outside the porch railing and wait for me to come back with treats. And I we'd go to the beach and go swim in the water, and then find some grass for him to eat and just hang out there. And we'd go into town, and I'd have him stay outside the shave ice place so I could run in and get shave ice. And
that's awesome.
yeah. And so he really taught me all the things that could be. Yeah. And then, I started meeting people as I got older and getting into, this is how you're supposed to do it. You're not supposed to do it that way. So, I lost my way for a little while, but everything that I did with him always came back to, whenever I would learn something new, I'd be like, eventually I'd be like, but this doesn't feel the same. How can I get that same level of togetherness and communication? And he was incredibly smart. So like he could unlatch any gate. I used to have actually padlock his pasture when I'd go to school to make sure he didn't get out. So I was very fortunate to have him as a teacher. And I saw horses being abused at the polo stables nearby. And so I tried training him without any tack, thinking, that if we could learn how to work together without anything, then even though I didn't know anything, we'd have to be doing something right. So, obviously this was before the internet, so I couldn't just Google something. I was on an island and I didn't have any resources. So I just went with what he told me, and we went very far. It's actually, people would see us riding through the neighborhood, bridleless, and that's how I actually started getting my first training jobs, horse training jobs, is people would be like, that's really cool. Can you work with our horses? We can't get on them. So
That's fantastic. And I love how you just naturally did this as a child and then allowed him to show you more things. This is incredible.
well, he was my best friend and I wanted him to be happy. And that made a huge difference in how I approach things. And, when we would go places, we did trail riding. When I first started riding, I would ride the moment I got home from school until dark. And so I had this very strange view at the time that if I rode less than 2 hours, then it wasn't a real ride.
Oh.
I spent all my time, and then I started getting, the other jobs and working with other horses and stuff. But I wanted him happy. And when we'd go out in the trails, I'd be like, where do you want to go? And I'd let him, kind of explore, and it was priceless.
Absolutely. That sounds like a phenomenal relationship. Thank you for sharing that. I'm like seeing these amazing images. What part of Hawaii?
I grew up on the North Shore of Oahu.
Okay.
So I was actually right near the last working sugar mill.
Okay.
So I was out in the country. Actually, when I graduated from high school, the sugar mill closed. So part of our high school was doing projects about what they could do for agriculture. And the neat thing has been that they really tried to keep the community Wailua into agriculture. So if you go there now, even though there is obviously more tourism now, but there's also a lot of diverse agricultural ventures that have filled in where the sugarcane fields were.
Okay. What a great way to grow up, though. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was special. We spent every day at the beach, and actually the days that I'd miss, like say if I'd gotten sick or something, or if the weather was just too bad, because we lived a block from the beach.
Oh,
And but if I didn't take him swimming, then the next time I'd go, then he wouldn't get out until he was done. And there is absolutely no way to pull a horse out of the ocean.
oh
They do not know what to do. So
just hang on, we're going.
I learned all sorts of things about how to negotiate with my horse so that we didn't end up in those kind of situations.
That's amazing. Where's regarding that, is there anything new that you've learned lately?
In horses?
Yes, because I know you said you were taking some more classes lately.
Oh yeah. So I am continuing my behavioral science studies, and specifically more details in positive reinforcement training. And there are some great classes online taught by university professors in behavioral science, which will give you a chance to continue your education, even though I'm not currently in a graduate program, but it's fun. I just finished a reinforcement systems class that it was very kind of looking at some nuances of how specifically things are done. I always look for alternatives to working with food. With rescue horses, food is going to be your way to start, because just being near a person has a lot of aversive feel. Right. But when you are working with horses that you've raised, then scratches are wonderful. But also, whether it's horses or cats or whatever, things that you can let them do, like for instance, I have a couple horses that find water just amazing. So if just like with my horse Sport, if I let him go to the beach, then he would put up with me doing other things. And if my horse is here, if they are cooperate for certain things, then I'll be, okay, let's go to the pond and you can play. So there's alternatives to finding things that your horse likes to do just on a daily basis and incorporate that. And that was really cool with this reinforcement systems classes. There's a lot of technical stuff that I'm not going to share, but the fun stuff was just realizing that those things that I did as a kid, listening to my horse, those are actually acknowledged as, things that you want to do.
Brilliant. So it's beautiful confirmation for you.
It really was. Yeah, it felt good.
So cool. Okay, I have one last question for you. If you were to write on a billboard something really short for the whole horse world to see, what would it say?
I was thinking last night about this and I was like, man, that's hard. It's not short, but what I really thought was important was for people to understand that it's okay to get help with their horse, because you're not born knowing everything, and you don't have to just automatically be the best horse trainer out there. Because I see a lot of people who they struggle on their own, not because they feel like if they can't do everything right with their horse just naturally, then there's something wrong with them. And they don't realize how much, like say you or I, who our whole life revolves around teaching and training, how much we work to try to keep on top of as much information as possible and new ways of teaching and helping people and helping their horses, and how much heartache we've been through in our own experiences. So I would really just like people to know it's okay to get help, and that you're not alone.
I love that. So here's my interpretation. It's okay to get help. You don't have to be the best as long as you keep yourself open to learning.
Yes, that's
Sound good?
That sounds perfect.
I love it. Rachel, thank you so much. This was a beautiful conversation. I really appreciate your time and your generous information today.
Well, I really appreciate being on with you. It's so fun to catch up, and
Totally.
I am totally available for if anyone wants to ask more questions, please feel free.
Excellent. And how can people get a hold of you?
So the easiest way is to email at joyfulhorse@gmail.com. Okay. But you can also find me at the Balance Point Equestrian Center on Facebook. Okay. Or if you want to get me on Instagram, it is equestrian_zen. And I do have a podcast, the Equestrian Zen Podcast. Just started putting up some new episodes, so we're going to start getting that again. I just went through this move across country, kind of lost track of a bunch of things, but I'm excited to be back and able to share with people all of the hard-earned things that I've learned over the years.
Fantastic. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed this interview as much as I did, and that you go check out all of Rachel's social and reach out to her with any questions. Thanks again for being here. Remember to lead with kindness for yourself and for your horse. And may the horse be with you always.